Hi, my name's Eddie Obeng. Welcome. Thank you for responding to my invitation to join us. And if you've been here before, it's great to see you again, Alistair and hey, Harry, and lots of people.
Hi.
So there are new people here, and there are people who've never been on Cube before. If you've been on Cube before, you've got to jump so that I know that you can jump. Okay. So if you've been on Cube before, you know how to jump. Okay, and if you haven't, then I'm going to tell you how you jump for joy with the space bar. So if you hit the space bar, you will jump and try not to end up on the ceiling.
Poor Ari. He was click on gathering
Not
circle.
good.
Great. I have a wonderful treat for you today, which is we've got a fantastic speaker. Stephen Carver is someone I've known for an awfully long time and I've had a lot of respect for. What Stephen doesn't know about projects and making change happen and getting people to work together is probably not worth knowing. He's the sort of person who you describe as he's probably forgotten more than most of us will ever know. So, we have Stephen later, but what we want to do is start by getting your inputs on what you want from the session. So, first thing, have you managed to get your name onto the small discussion board? And if you haven't, I'm going to suggest that somebody takes us there, and then we can all have a look, and then we'll capture your hopes and fears and we get started. So I'm going to choose Ari. Ari, can you right-click on the place called Small Discussion Board? Hi, Serafina,
Mhm.
and choose Meet Here. That should get us all there.
Okay. Oops. No, 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 no. Wrong, wrong, wrong.
Right-click Meet Here. Don't go on your own. We want all to go there. He had taken control. That's better. Okay, so just quickly, if you haven't stuck your name up, please a few seconds to put your name up. Apparently, I'm a bit loud. Okay, I'm going to try and not be Eddie. I'm going to try and pretend to be somebody shy and retiring.
That would work.
Great stuff. Okay. Great. So we've got all the names. So what we'll do is we'll do a quick round of introductions, then we'll capture your hopes and fears on text. So if you want to say something about what you want from the session, great. But otherwise, just hang on a little bit and just tell us who you are. So we're going to start with you, Alistair, from the top. So Alistair, if you could tell us very quickly, because there are lots of us, 10 seconds, about you, your name, blah, blah, and then we'll move rapidly to Alistair, Ari, Bob Apollo, David, and so on. So Alistair, let's go. So guys, if we can come to hopes and fears, let's get aligned and let's get going. So the way you move around Cube is you can either move yourself, if you're a new person, by using WSD or the arrow keys, or if you're particularly lazy or if you had a busy day, you'll see on the right hand side there's a list of places, and one of them is called hopes and fears, and there's already one person there. So if you click on hopes and fears, you will go there, and then we can get started. So capture what you want from Steve, what you want from the session, what you don't want, your hopes and your fears. Use sticky notes. As you can see in this little picture down here, the sticky notes live in the bottom right hand corner. They're yellow, they're sticky, they're rectangular, they never run out. On Cube, we don't have to recycle them because we don't produce any waste paper. So let's go really fast and then we'll be aligned. So those of you who are new, you'll have discovered you can move on your own, you can move other people. You'll have realized that you can actually start to communicate with people. You'll also have realized that you're autonomous, so you can move other people's sticky notes and annoy them. Okay, and in about 10 seconds, we would have found out the hopes and fears from about 20 people, which is what's known as pretty impressive. So if you click once, click on the sticky once, you will discover who wrote it. So that's how you know who wrote it. It'll be your color, the same color as your cube bot, and it'll tell you who wrote it. So that's something it's worth knowing. And of course, being Cube, it's not real life, so all the stickies stay forever and we don't have to tidy up. Important thing, is there anyone on here who's been using Cube for collaboration who can answer this question of collaboration through digital is only a myth? Any volunteer?
Yes.
Yes, I
Yes.
have, Joe.
Can you tell us a couple of stories, the first voice and the second voice? Just
I've
do you wanna
got
go first?
people from all different health boards, from industry, from academia, coming together on big health challenges and creating solutions in collaboration. And we've been doing it really, really quickly as well. So we've been able to do that in 8 to 10 weeks on quite a few of them. And we wouldn't have been
okay.
able to do that in the real world.
Great. There was a second.
Okay, it's great.
Yeah, it's Joe. Um, I've been using it with colleagues in other arm's length body in the health sector in order to be able to meet and work together where we're across a geographical spread and also IT spread. Nobody can use any particular type of system, but also been using it internally for developing capability, but also around sort of change management. And we've got another program coming up shortly to help implement change. So I'm really excited about that.
Is that okay for, as an agenda for the session? If you start on the left hand by learning things, improving the way you do QUBE, and ending with highlights of hearing Stephen and having a fun session. Alistair, would that be okay?
Yep.
Great. Okay, so what Leo just did with you is what we call spinning. We use this a lot on QUBE. So normally in a conference call, one person talks over and over and everyone gets bored and people make their points 5 times because they don't think they've been heard. So on QUBE, every 5 or 6 minutes or after each event, we spin. So everyone gets a chance to talk and contribute. It's a big group here, so we have to be very disciplined and go very fast. So don't wait for your name to be called. We always say 3 strikes and you're in, so the first time always feels a bit weird. What I thought we could do is just a little bit of background for the new people, just to explain what QUBE is. So the rest of you, please bear with me, or if I'm talking too much, stop me. And then once we've done that, we'll have a little bit of a breakout for people to chat, and then we'll go into the session. Probably 2 or 3 rounds, like a dating thing. So I'm going to go to the small discussion board, if that's okay with you. If you want to join me there, that'll be great. And if somebody new and really skilled like Gemma will do meet here, then we'll all get there at the same time.
Hopefully that's worked.
Great, okay.
Yep.
So, again, apparently I'm talking too loudly. I'm too excited. I'm sorry. Okay, so I brought you here for a number of things. First is just to quickly get the newbies, and so please forgive me, I'm going to go very fast, to be able to look at their screens. Please come with me. The way you get closer is you click on the yellow triangle above an object. If you put your mouse over an object, you get this yellow triangle like a location sign, and if you click on that, it zooms you in. Okay, so just very, very quickly, I think, okay, this is a snapshot of this room. This little green one is what I'm going to move, just so people can see. So if you do anything silly, can you see this red button with the backward arrow? Yeah, that's the undo button. So that's for when you do silly things. The buttons along the top, you'll recognize that the standard sort of Windows buttons of copy, save, etc. The mic you've already found. On the other side are things like home button, very useful. And then up on this side are places, if you haven't spotted them, and then people. And between the two here are useful icons. The first one is to get people to join you on QUBE. The one with the green Q bot is to go to somebody. And the one with the ankles all linked together is follow. So if you followed me as I move, you'll move as well. So that's just something really useful to be able to do. So new people, I went quite fast. Any questions, new people? No? Good, let's carry on. Okay, so that was one thing. The second thing I wanted to do, and then I'm going to break you out so you can have a conversation and do some work, is we always get asked, what do people do on QUBE? So finally, we put together this board, which has got lots and lots of stories on here. Can I drag you around some of them just so you can see what happens on them? So if I point, if you zoom in, you'll miss me pointing on the others, but maybe I can point and then you can look at them later. So top right-hand corner, this is from a project management program we did with O2. So you see a lot of people sitting around the tables. If you zoom in, you'll miss me pointing at the next one. Okay, this one here, we've got a guest speaker from Orange actually talking to people from CGI, and there are 2 people from CGI here. So Grant and Serafina, if you're interested in how we use QUBE for guest speakers, then ask them about it. This is a snapshot of being interviewed for a conference in our outdoor space. And then the list goes on. The one which I'm most proud of, which I'm going to share with you, is we're starting work with a company, and we built them a specialist cubicle, and they make cars. And so what we did was we replicated room where they'd been working, and we just rebuilt it here on Cube for them. So if you come with me just for a second, it's just quite funny. So there's the car. You can see the car behind the glass in the bottom picture. And if you look really close in the top picture on the whiteboard, you'll see the room they worked in. And then we reproduced the same horrible green carpet on Cube just for them. So it's a bit of fun, but the reason I'm showing you this is because we know that we can do, at the moment, almost anything on Cube. We've even had art classes on creativity from famous artists. So that's Cube. And the last thing I'm going to do is for the new people, and if there's anyone else here who's got more experience, please join me. I'm taking you up to the sky. So those of you afraid of heights, sorry, but we're now up in the sky. And this is the room we're in. We'll be doing our group working here. This is where we're going to be breaking out to next, so you can talk to each other. There's another room in here which tells us a lot of stuff about what happens on Cube and answers lots of questions. And we'll be listening to Steve's presentation about here. So I'm going to set us down. I'm going to suggest you find somebody to talk to. And then I think that's probably a good chance to meet people. And we'll move around 3 or 4 times, or 2 or 3 times, so you get to meet lots of people. So come with me. So if you click on a chair, you'll be able to sit down, and you'll be able to have a conversation with the people around you. I'm going to give you 2 or 3 minutes just to meet some new people. So click on a chair where your bottom would normally go.
Just in the sort of post-startup phase, so they don't have the organisational complexity that maybe some of the other people in this group or in the bigger group will have. Okay, enjoyed the discussion. Let's
Time shift.
Yeah, when the lights flash. It's an early warning system.
Okay, so I brought you here for the bit of marketing we're going to do, which is our selfie. So we're going to do a selfie so that you can tweet straight away and say you're on Cube. So the way we're going to work the selfie is we're all standing in front of a great big thing, mirror. So if you can't see yourself, slide along a little bit, and you could so that we can see you. So the short ones, if you slide, use the letter Q or the letter E. Okay, that should slide along a little bit. Okay, great. Everybody, you can take a selfie with the camera. So click it. It should give you the option of into cubicle or no, you don't need to get any further. You can see already. So find the camera. Take a picture. Into desktop. Then you can tweet. Tweet is at CubeCC. Hashtag is hashtag CubeInspire. And we're enjoying Peter sliding, looking at us. Okay, all right.
Sorry.
Great. That's okay. Don't worry. You're here. You're experimenting. You're practicing. That's fantastic. So, everyone taking a photograph. I'm going to kill the mirror. You've got 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Mirror's gone. Great. Okay, so just as the last bit, because people always ask this, and I just want to answer the questions. They ask, where did Cube come from? When do you use it? The first thing I'll say is Cube is not a tool. I'll say it again, just in case you didn't hear. Cube is not a tool. Cube is a way of working. It's a digital way of working differently. So if you know anything about what we've done at Pentacle, you'll recognize the symbols of the curves on the far left. This is what we call our new digital world. Actually, I might just drag everybody. It might be easier. Okay. So we've talked for a couple of decades about the joy and challenge of a fast-changing world. And that's where Cube came from, recognizing the world was going to get digital, it was going to get faster, there were going to be more things people didn't understand, and at the same time, the size of cyberspace was going to get enormous. So we started this Cube journey, probably, I'll describe it as at the same time as Stephen Jobs started with his Apple Newton. Thing is, Steve Jobs is a much better business than I am, so he managed to get to the iPad in the time it took us to get from Columbus to Cube. And I think he has a few more subscribers than we do. So Cube is not a tool. So what the hell is it? Again, just being inspired by Steve Jobs, Cube is 3 different things. It basically is a learning environment full of tools, like the hopes and fears and some of the tools you're going to be looking at later. It's about learning. It's about doing work. That's why we have the spaces. That's how we collaborate. And it just so happens to be an absolutely brilliant bit of software. And people always ask, what can Cube do? Should I replace my Office 365? And the answer is Cube can do anything which any of these things can do. But the purpose is it's not software. It allows you to change how you work. And that's what we want to focus on. The other element is just answering some of the questions which I think you might have, typical questions new people have. The most common ones are, why are the avatars boxed and don't look like human beings? Why does Cube look old-fashioned? Because it's for business people, it's not a game. Why don't I wear a funny helmet like everyone else does? You can come and read these later. You now know where they are. And then the last question people ask us over and over and over again is, how much does it cost? And the answer is, it depends on what you're planning to buy. So there are three elements to Cube. Some people use it for courses, as you've seen. Some people use it for delivery of change, and some people just use it for a lot of different things. And lower down, I've put down two links which you can come back to. One is called a configurator, and it allows you to calculate your own costs, so you can do that independently without having to talk to us. And the bottom one is an investment one, so you can see how it works if you are on an ongoing basis on Cube. And from here, I'm putting us in a circle, answer any questions, and then I let you loose with Steve. So this time we're going to spin, but we're going to spin from the bottom. So Alistair, you can chill for a while. I want to hear on the spin what you've heard, who you've met, anything exciting, but we have to go quite fast because there are lots of us. So especially the people new to Cube, you're getting into it. Eddie's talking very fast.
Kind of, I think so. I'm the same as Tam, so we have been on quite a few different things, but it's interesting to see different companies using it and whether they're using it for the same way as what we are.
Thank you, Sarah.
I think the one thing I would say is how quickly one begins to become very familiar with it. Really great.
Brilliant. Thank you. Sarah, other Sarah.
Hello. Yeah, I find it just useful talking to folks from other companies and finding out how they're using Cube and some of the challenges they've had. And it makes me think a little bit as well about how we can work more effectively. And how it's such a great thing to be able to do, and how things are moving forward with the digital transformation. We talked about that last time. Where this is going and where we might be in 10 years' time. It's quite. You can get your imagination going, can't you? Really?
Brilliant. After the session, if you don't have to rush off, stay and chat because Cube will be here whenever you want it. Sally?
The best thing I heard was that Cube is really good at removing the hierarchy, so it makes people more equal and therefore they're more likely to cooperate.
Yes, they do. And they laugh more as well. Thank you, Peter. Peter, your mic's on push to talk, so we won't hear you unless you press control.
Yep. Just very briefly, I've just been gathering experiences and other people's opinion. People have been using Cube quite a while, so that's interesting to hear what they say.
Brilliant. Okay, we're on to Mirto. Mirto, your mic's off.
Yes, so as I said, we used Cube and so far the two R&D centers were working very effectively on Cube, makes things faster. But overall, I think is a great platform, I would say.
Great, brilliant. Lindsay? Lindsay, your mic's off.
Yeah. There's lots of ideas going in my head just now about some of the opportunities that this could bring and how we can bring more people together. So kind of liking what I'm seeing just now.
Joe?
Hi, yeah, it's really nice to see some new people in here and to get some kind of fresh perspectives. If anybody that is new is interested in seeing how I work and what we've been doing in here afterwards, just to see it in practice, they're more than welcome to let me know afterwards.
Brilliant. Okay, keep going. Grant.
Hi, I've used it lots of times, so I haven't learned anything particularly new, but it has reminded me of how much we can save in transport costs, because I think just this group today would have cost probably £5,000 to get us all together any other way.
Brilliant. Josh will tell us at the end when we've calculated it all. Gemma.
Hi, it's my first time in for a little while, so I think I've echoed whoever said it was about how quickly you become familiar with it, how much you remember, but it's actually really nice to see, because I've only worked with NHS people within the Cube before, so it's nice to see that actually the spread of businesses could be really sort of a good sort of fertile ground for exchanging ideas and experiences.
Great. Let's keep going. High speed, high speed. Otherwise, we'll have not enough time for. Keep going. Bob?
Well, we're clearly all on a journey. I wonder what the destination is.
It's in exactly half an hour's time. So let's keep going.
Yeah, we had an interesting conversation about whether people's expectations of technology are too high sometimes. They expect everything to just work.
Yes.
Unlike trains.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, can I stand as at the large whiteboard, because I want to just quickly introduce Stephen and just get everybody to have a look at his CV. It's here. You can come and have a look at it later, but I explained earlier that Stephen is probably one of the most exciting speakers I've come across. He at Cranfield, he often is voted the best speaker ever, and Cranfield's a pretty top business school. His background is he's done many things. He's worked for Virgin. He's run all sorts of projects in obscure places like Russia. I mean, he's somebody to really connect with, and Stephen's going to be spending more time on QUBE, so I'm sure you can drag him into a space to find out more. So to start, what we're going to do is Leo, if you can get us to view presentation. Stephen, I think your presentation is in a couple of bits with some work in the middle, so let's make a go of it. So Leo, if you can drag us, that would be wonderful.
Here we are.
Excellent. Is everyone there? And can you all hear me? Can you nod your heads or wave or do something?
Yes,
Lovely. That's great. Lovely to present to you. Hey, jumping very high. I like that too. So I'm a cat herding Jedi who believes in fun and magic. So I'm the right man for you this afternoon. So what we're going to look at is how people collaborate but under stress. So if I can just move on to my first slide, which should magically happen. Yes, it has. There we go. Types of change. Very simple slide, 2 by 2, want to, don't want to, planned and unplanned. Now, the red box is where we do most of our work as change managers, of course. Strategic projects. Somebody has a budget or political power or whatever, and they want to see a plan because the money might be quite large. Those sort of projects, if you're still getting them wrong, come to the business school, we'll sort you out. Fairly straightforward projects. More difficult ones, of course, the blue projects. This is where people don't want to do the project, but it still has to be done and budgeted and all those good things. The yellow box is really what we're doing this afternoon. Serendipity. It's the ability to be able to meet with people you wouldn't normally meet and have the sort of conversations you wouldn't normally have. That's where creativity is born. But what I'd like to talk about now is the green box, the dreaded crisis box. Now, I work with lots of companies who get involved in crises, normally unwilling, but let's just get one little thing out of the way. Most people in most organizations love a good crisis. It enables them to throw away any idea of structure or plan, grab a mobile phone, run around like headless chickens, and have high-level meetings. And I always say, if you can do it on somebody else's budget and no blame culture, it's better than work. But what happens when you get real nasty crises as opposed to the normal crises you get in companies? So we've seen a few recently. We've seen reputational crises like Volkswagen. We've got the EU continuing saga. And in London, of course, we had the dreadful fire on the block of flats. So let me tell you a story about organizations who have to deal with crisis and collaborate under crisis conditions. So a company called, if I can, sorry, Alistair, I'll just jump myself back to the front of the presentation. I, like a lot of you, are newbie on QUBE, so I'm having to learn as I go. So AIRMIC, some of you might know them. They are an organization who look after insurance companies and reinsurance companies. They're interested in crisis because, of course, they have to pay out when things go badly wrong. So a few years ago, a guy called John Hurrell, who was the chief executive of AIRMIC, got Cass Business School, Boohis, actually no, they're a very good business school, to actually do a report for AIRMIC called Roads to Ruin. Why is it companies get themselves in a crisis in the first place? They looked at some big companies who'd spent billions or had completely blown it, their company gone out of existence because of the crisis, and they looked at why these crises had occurred. Now, the key weakness is pretty damn obvious stuff you can see on the slide. You can read it faster than I can say it. Now, John came to me at Cranfield and said, look, this report is good, no problem with that, but we want the next step. What we want to do is, if that's how not to do it, then if you put it all right, then you'll be a resilient company and you won't have a crisis. So what I want you to do at Cranfield is an academic report on what makes organizations resilient. The holy grail, of course. So what we're looking for is organizations where nothing happens. Now, when I say nothing happens, they make lots of money, they're highly successful in what they do, or they treat lots of people, but they don't seem to have crises. So my next session for you is I want you to grab a few people around the room and have a quick conversation on the next slide, which is what makes an organization resilient.
So you see on the top there are signs, first name, A to J, J to N, and O to Z. So if you could click there in one of those signs, one of us will be joining you and helping to answer Stephen's question.
Great, we're all here. So I'll click on one of the names, and whoever's name comes up, that's them. So we want Gemma. Tell us about it.
Okay, so we didn't do a lot of talking. We did lots of writing. But I think you can see that there are some themes that are coming through in terms of the old world resilience. Sort of there's a couple about relying on individual strength, so that whole sort of actually we'll just hope that people get through by looking after each other. There's some bit about not wanting to go towards things that would challenge resilience, so going into silos, not working with the wider team, not working with organisations. So we've kind of been almost sort of retreating into that personal sort of small space to keep resilient. Going ahead into the new world, there's a bit about how we sort of look at the strengths that people have, look at the USP that we have in our workplace. Again, looking out for each other, focusing on staff well-being. How can we actually get the resilience up in our staff as a wider group? Knowing the world that we're in, better planning, and maybe recruiting people. Again, it's a lot of it's based around people and that sort of personal function. How we're going to sort of build our resilience through our staff.
Super. Thanks,
and
Gemma.
Apologies
Gemma's
to the
done a
rest
great
of my
job.
group if that doesn't represent it.
Applause, I think, everyone. Yay! Okay, great. And unfortunately, Gemma's done such a wonderful job that I'm sure the other two teams will be really quick when they take us through theirs. So over here, let me click on one of the names. Who's red? Let's see who's red. That was Lindsay. Lindsay, go for it. Tell us about it. Lindsay, don't be shy. We're waiting.
Hi, sorry, I was sorry. A little bit like the last speaker there. Same sentiments. So very much kind of old world was a bit command and control, quite adversarial, kind of some bullying kind of mannerisms. Going into the new world again, it's much more people focused, more about invisible leadership, innovation, problem solving, very much adapting to change and having appropriate management of change structures in your business. Is that okay?
Yep, that's excellent. So the first one said people, the other said give them some structures and systems. So the third group, and high speed, let's choose, Serafina. Serafina, I spotted you done some of the stickies. Give us a one-liner. Serafina's being shy, and she's turned her mic off so we can't hear her.
So I think we've gone from,
yeah, we can.
I think we've gone from lots of sort of set in stone processes to now keeping up to date with modern technology and being more flexible with strong management.
Super.
Well done.
That was also applause for Lindsay. We forgot that one. So everybody, we're back to view presentation. New people, you probably realize you can work parallel and come back together, probably slightly easier than you do in real life where you have to walk down the corridor to the breakout rooms. Stephen, back to you.
All right, hello there. Right, welcome everyone back. Fantastic answers, well done, very intuitive, and just like most intuitive answers, they're usually right. But what we had to do was some research to prove all of that. Now, the most difficult thing was finding companies that were resilient as opposed to just damn lucky. And now the companies that they selected after many hundreds of hours were the ones that you can now see in front of you now, which are big insurance companies. You can see Virgin Atlantic, 2012 Olympics, TTP, a small technology group, and they seem to have what we call resilience. So what is resilience? How does it work? Now, I needed to know this because I had a problem. I needed a silver bullet because in 2 weeks' time, I was going to have to stand up at the AMIC annual conference in front of 1,000 extremely hard-nosed insurance and reinsurance managers and CEOs and give them our results. So they had to be good. So what came up? Well, the academic said you need good people and culture, good leadership and governance. I don't know about you, but when I read that, I thought, oh no, this is just motherhood and apple pie. I was not a happy man at all. If I'd said that to 1,000 CEOs, they'd crucify me. But the academic said, don't worry, there is more. And I thought, thank goodness for that. And they said, you also need a good risk radar, build and value strong relationships. Leaders are respected and respectful. Oh, and my heart sank. I was going to die in front of 1,000 people. As my kids would say, no shit, Sherlock. I was a disappointed man. John said you better get your shit together on this one, Stephen, because you have to entertain them for an hour on this one. This is where serendipity came in, because I happened to be on a plane coming back from America, and I have eclectic tastes. I was reading, would you believe, The Economist, but I was also reading Origin of Species, a very strange man that I am. Now, Origin of Species, survival of the fittest. No, it is not. He spent most of his life saying, I never said that. What he said is that it is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive and adaptable to change. Now, the Economist article that I was reading at the same time was something called Agents of Change. And it went on to say that most economics and most bankers have not seen the 2011 crash coming our way. And so perhaps a new system called agent-based modeling might be the answer. Now, I read that list, and of course, resilience is on it. And I thought, this is sexy. So I put the two together, and after a couple of very large gin and tonics, came up with what I called originally the Carver Matrix to present at the conference. The academic said, no, we're not having anything to do with this because we can't prove it yet. And I said, well, I've run out of time. I'll have to go with this. Now, you can look at it. Empowerment, high, low, how people feel about, can they actually do something? Risk management maturity, do we see risk? And if we do, can we manage it? And so we came up with alert, resilient, defensive, vulnerable. Again, fairly obvious stuff. But what I wanted to see was how people would react and collaborate under stress. So what we did was we came up with 4 animal types, and they work rather well. Fairly obvious, but good. Now, if you've got low empowerment and low risk maturity companies, and I've got a bit of an echo going on here, if any can do anything about that, we call them the dodo companies. Now, dodo companies are hugely successful, and dodos were hugely successful. They reckon about, I think it was 25,000 years. They lived in dodo land, and everything was good. It was designed for dodos, and, well, life was great. But one day, a ship arrived, and the dodo thought, what the hell's that? And then a man got out the ship, and they thought, interesting. And then the man walked towards them with a big stick, and they thought, I wonder what he's going to do with that. And, of course, end of dodo. And so some companies can exist for huge amounts of time, and everyone says, aren't they clever? In fact, they're just dodos. And eventually something comes along, and they are out of business. They fail to exist because they can't actually be resilient and collaborate in a resilient way. The next one. These ones are the defensive. These are the blue box ones. So these people have incredible risk processes. They do Monte Carlo analysis in their sleeps, statistical analysis of risk. They have contracts. They can cover themselves with all manner of compliance. But people within the organization have to follow the rules. We call them the tortoises because when stress hits a tortoise, they go back into their shell, and that's the important thing. They survive, of course they do. They're tough. They've got good contracts. Look at our, way of running projects. But unfortunately, once they're in their shell, A, they can't see the outside world, and B, of course, they can't move. So when the threat or the stress has gone, they're behind the curve, and sometimes they never catch up, but they do survive. They lumber along. The next one, what we call the deer. These ones, everyone is very, very empowered. Every single one of the deer is saying, I can run, I can run, I can run, I can do this, I can do, I can do, I can be a leader, I can do, I can do. Unfortunately, their risk management maturity is quite low. And so when something freaks them out, when they're put under stress, they panic. One will suddenly start to run off in a direction. And the rest of them think, well, if he's doing that, I'll do it too. And then you have what we call a stampede. Now, unfortunately, sometimes the stampede can be in a good place. Sometimes it's towards a bad place, like a cliff edge. The best one I ever saw was the .com bubble, where I went to lots of meetings where lots of people with beards, men and women, said the word .com, and bankers would throw millions and millions of pounds at them, and they all basically herded straight over a cliff, and that's why we had the .com collapse back in the early 2000s. The one that interested me and the one that came into my mind was something I happened to be watching on the video on the plane at the same time, which was a wildlife program, and it showed fish, and I'm sure you've all seen it. The fish, all doing what fish do, and suddenly a predator, a shark, comes towards them, and they suddenly form a solid mass. It's like one organic creature, and the big bad shark goes straight through the middle. And you would have thought, it's got thousands of nice little pre-packaged bits of lunch there, but it misses every single one. And they seem to move as one body. And no one fish says, I'm the leader. And they all instinctively do the right thing. And it's quite incredible how they survive. It's not hierarchical. It's not leader-led. It's very intuitive. Everyone seems to know what to do. So that's your next exercise. What I want you to do, grab a few people. There's a pet set up for you. I want you to allocate some marks. I think they've set up marks in the pet. So you can actually, from your experience, allocate the marks according to the companies that you come across. Are they dodos? Are they tortoises? Are they herds? Or are they fish? So off you go. You've got 3 minutes. Go, go, go.
I'll join the O to Z. DW if you can go to H, and Tam if you take the middle.
Great. Okay. So please tell Stephen these numbers because he wanted to see them.
Right. Well, I can see the numbers myself. The numbers on the post-it notes, is that the person or is that the number of votes?
It's the number of votes.
That's what I thought. Excellent. And this is exactly what the research indicated as well. As you can see, we've got 1 or 2 dodos, which is frightening, but they're still around. The tortoises win by a mile, as you can see. So there's a rather bad analogy, but most companies at the moment, because most companies are run by fear and protocol, they're running in the tortoise mode and missing out on the fish opportunities. So what I'd like to do now, just to roll it up, is to show you what the report was like and then give you a few examples from the real world. So can we just jump back into the slideshow?
Presentation, yeah.
Yep, review presentation. Lovely.
Here we are.
So that's marvelous. Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen. Let me just pull down my slideshow, as Eddie showed me. There I go. God, I'm getting good at this. I'm a cubist. Okay. So, the Carver matrix was actually adapted by the academics. In the end, they proved it, and as Eddie's laughing, the academics have to prove things, otherwise I'm afraid they don't exist. As one guy said to me, that's all very well in theory, but does it work in practice? Sorry, all very well in practice, but does it work in theory? So they had to prove the theory, but it was published, and as you can see, the details are there. You can download it. You can see the people involved in it: PwC, Crawford, and Lockton. So a big report worth downloading free of charge from the AirMix site. I'll leave you with a few quotes from some of the people that we spoke to. This one was a good one, the CEO of TTP. We believe that the speed of response to an unexpected is more important than the predictions of a strategist. They'd given up coming up with risk scenarios because it was always the unknowns that hit them. So they needed to have the speed to react, which I liked. Another was Virgin. I don't know if you remember a few years ago, tragically, there was a bombing in Mumbai, and they actually knew about the Mumbai bombings within 130 seconds of the first bomb going off. They obviously were running lots of services out to India. They immediately phoned the Foreign Office, and they had no idea of the bombings whatsoever. And it took them almost 20 minutes to catch up with Virgin. Virgin had reacted, had communicated, they'd act as this shoal of fish. And this one is a particularly nice one. This is Jaguar Land Rover. We are a relatively small and vulnerable company compared to some of our competition. We believe we act as one and with speed. And I thought that was superb. So I think we need to close it now because people need to go off to other meetings. But I will leave you with please download the report. It's good academic stuff, and your CEOs have to believe it because it's academically proven. And I'll leave you with a quote from one of my favorite businessmen, and he was talking about risk because, of course, these birds do the same as fish. If you ever look at a flock of birds being attacked by an eagle, they just fly as one, and the eagle goes straight through the birds. It never actually hits one. And so that's what resilience is. That's what collaboration under those conditions is all about. And this guy, eagles may soar high, but weasels don't get sucked into jet engines. So on that happy note, I will say thank you very much indeed, ladies and gentlemen, and hand back to Eddie.
Excellent.
Oh gosh, and you've got a video for us as well. So all I can thank you very, very much, Stephen. That was absolutely fabulous, and we love the Matrix, and we love the fact that there are more tortoises and more tortoises than dodos. Is that the right word? I'm not sure, but it's been wonderful. So what we're going to do as we close, we're just going to launch some polls to find out how things were for people. And we're going to also put ourselves in a circle so that we can actually just say how it's been for us. The tables and chairs are here, so a chance to chat with your new friends and colleagues. If you've got to go, what a shame. Don't forget to come back. If you've got more on QUBE, just go to that small discussion board, tab along, and the story of QUBE and use of cubicles, and bring your colleagues. And please don't forget to tweet. Okay? So thank you, everybody. Leo, are you going to put us in a circle? So.
Yep.
Actually, anyone can put us in a circle. You're all
exactly.
Somebody put us in a circle. Right, click on the place, meet here. Brilliant. Do you want me to lead the spin, or Leo, are you going to lead the spin and I'll do the final thanks?
Okay, so final words. Let's start from Zani in the bottom. I don't think I've heard Zani yet.
Well, this is the first time I'm joining, so I'm sort of orientating myself and listening attentively.
Yeah, so Zani, let's keep going. Tam?
Sorry?
Yeah, we're just spinning, but I was just saying if we've got the mileage stats as well, that would be quite useful.
Okay, I thought that was amazing. I'm really thinking about that and how I can get the word Odo into the odd meeting I have to go to and get away with it.
Brilliant. Let's keep going up. Skip Stephen. Go up to Simon, whose mic is off.
I love the I love the concept of the resilience model. Just fits so many organisations. I think the interesting one is some organisations, big public sector ones, probably have different parts in them as well.
Thank you, Sarah.
Absolutely, that's a very good point.
Sarah?
Yeah, no, just thank you, Stephen. Really interesting and great discussion.
Thank you.
Peter. Peter.
Yeah, it seems to bear up my experience of industrial life. So yeah, good observation.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, I thought really great. The one thing is you don't, the fish and the birds doing their thing. You don't get big animals doing that really. So I guess it means keeping things small.
Zebra, bison.
Bison, I'm not sure they just bulldoze you over. They're like a motorized tortoise.
They're big companies. They motor you down.
Crush you underfoot. But So they have to be sure, because bison do go over the edge of cliffs.
They do. They panic.
But yeah, provocative.
Good. Thank you. Great. Gemma.
Hi, it's my first inspiration session. I found it really fascinating. I think for me, I'd have loved a little bit more time to spend with Stephen and sort of hear his views rather than do the first bit, but I get we have to do that, but that's just so I'm going to go away and Google and find out loads more because I'm really,
Gemma,
my interest has been piqued.
Stephen's here, you're on Cube, why don't you grab a table at the end and chat?
We could do.
Yes, it's not the old world. All the rules are broken. You can do all sorts of things. You can
I'm
invite
such a
him in
rules girl.
for five. You can invite him in for 5 minutes to meet some of your colleagues. I mean, all the stuff you can't do in real life, you can do on Cube.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Gemma. Let's keep going then. I think we're jumping all the way to you, Bob.
To me?
Yes, please.
I'm paraphrasing. I think that idea, it's not how well you plan, but how well you react, was a key thought.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And Ari?
Yes. Again, for me, this is the first time I also joined the inspiration session. Content is interesting. Thank you very much, Stephen, to deliver the topic. But actually, I'm more observing about the structure of delivering it as as short courses, less than 1 hour, and then I think using Cube is a very interesting experience. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Alfonso, I think.
I would say the same as Gemma. It was kind of short to me. I couldn't really, hectic. It was kind of hectic sometimes. Maybe because I'm not used to this environment, but it was very, very inspirational. So I might join if they do sit down now to have a chat. I might join them too.
Superb. Okay, so I get to say the last bits. So first of all, I hope you tweet. Don't forget to tweet at QubeCC. That's the first thing. The second is, if you look at the group chat, we have done something amazing today. I don't know whether we're going to get an announcement from Josh. Josh, do you want to quickly read us the group chat?
Yes, so I can just run you through that. So you'll remember at the start of this session, we asked you to put your name on the world map so that we knew where you are physically today. And I can tell you that by meeting on Cube, instead of meeting in the physical world, we have saved 21,765 miles of travel. So to put that in a bit of perspective for you, if we had driven, we would have spent 18 hours driving each, or we would have to spend 5 hours flying each. We would have burnt 10.6 tons of carbon, and that carbon could heat and light a house for 771 days. That's over 2 years. We would have lost over £4,000 from travelling, and the cost of the travel itself would have cost £10,000. So we would have lost nearly £15,000 just from travelling to this session today. So well done, everyone.
Thank you. So all that remains to say is, not only have we had a chance to save the planet and save lots of money, thank you very much, Stephen. That was absolutely fantastic. I think the language from the people here is going to change. There'll be talk of dodos and bison. No, that's the wrong model. Dodos and tortoises. And really, it was amazing. The way you revealed it all and you explained to us that it linked to a real need with real organizations made it very, very concrete for all of us. So we really appreciate it. Final round of applause, please. Stephen, thank you very much. That's great.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Okay.
Excellent stuff.
Grab a table, grab a chair, have a conversation.